I have a really good question here from Gemma. What do you think Oswald's best feature is?
Gosh, to me, I think what was so great about those black and white cartoons is that they were silent. So they had to do these visual gags. And these broad visual gags, and when you watch a lot of these Oswald cartoons, what I really like is that they are cartoons. Anything's possible. The characters are pliable. Their eyes can pop out. There's one great gag that I just absolutely love, and I laugh. I've seen it a million times. In Trolley Trouble, there's a runaway trolley that Oswald's on, and he's like sitting and he's praying, that the thing's going to stop. And at one point, he pulls his foot off, his Lucky Rabbit's foot. He pulls it off, and he rubs it on his head, and he kisses it, and he puts it back on his leg. And it's just like such a fantastic gag. It makes me laugh every time. But I think being able to dismember characters and put them back together and do all of those kinds of fun things. There's a terrific gag in Great Guns, one of the Oswald shorts, where he gets blown up by a cannonball, and he's in all these pieces, and Nurse Fanny picks them all up in a pail and then pours them back out and creates this big black puddle, and then pulls Oswald back out and he reappears. So I mean, there's just so many fun gags that they're able to do with the characters that you don't see as much today, especially with some of the films that have more human characters in them. It'd be really disconcerting to dismember a human character. Even if it's a cartoon, it would just not sit well. But these really pliable, fun, anamorphic animals, and they're just having fun with them.
So cool. I had a question that pertains to art and from Patterson's, and they wanted to know how you first got your job with Disney, and their kids are both in art class and really want to advance in cartoon work and would love to know how.
Well, no, it's a great question. I get hit with that question all the time. In fact, somebody popped me a question on my Facebook page about that. And, I graduated from Cal Arts. I came to Cal Arts, and I went through the animation program here. And it was during a time when Disney was really trying to refresh and replace all of those great artists that were starting to retire from the studio. Because you had people like Eric Larson and Ward Kimball and Frank Anali and Mark Davis and Milt Kahl and Claude Coates, and you had all of these fantastic artists. There was some cleanup artists that were there for decades, and they were all starting to retire. And so they needed to train new people, and so there was a great program here at Cal Arts at that time. And since then, there's been great animation programs that have sprung up all over the world. Sheridan College in Toronto, and the art institutes that are around the country, and School of Visual Arts in New York City, and I think even Rhode Island School of Design, RISD, has some animation programs, and so there's all these great animation programs all over the world, and so people interested in animation can go into it. And the other interesting part about it is that there's such a need for content today, and there's so many different outlets for animation. Back when I was in school, Disney was the only studio at the time that was actually making feature animated films. Now you've got DreamWorks, and you've got Sony ImageWorks, and you've got Illumination, and all of these other companies.
Not to mention
there.
Everything on YouTube.
And then there's people making their own stuff, and there's it's so much easier to make your own animations today. People can do them in their garage or their bedroom. And there's so many different digital distribution platforms that allow people to put their own content out,
Yeah.
just like you're doing with this show.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's really fantastic. So I always tell people, there's great programs out there. Look at those programs. You really want to get trained in the fundamental principles of animation, and those principles apply to whatever technique you're doing, whether you're going to hand draw animation, or you're going to do it on the computer, or you're going to do stop motion, or cut paper, or claymation, or whatever. You still need to know those fundamental principles of animation, and those are the things that you'll pick up in these animation programs, and you'll be able to apply to student films and all of those things. And there's just so many outlets now for people to go out and apply those skills. It's amazing.
It really is, yeah. No, I'm always amazed by artists and animators, because I cannot draw a thing. It is like I am so involved in the arts, but that side of it, I got no no talent, and I look at stuff and I'm just blown away by art. It's amazing to look at.
Yeah,
especially when I'm working on the other side of things too, like voicing a character. I'm just, wow, it's so cool to see things come to life like that.
Yeah.
It's so neat.
No, and I definitely think, I mean, there's great talent out there, and there's budding new talent, and it's a very exciting time. There's a lot of projects going on all over the world, and it's really about, and people say, well, how do you get into it? And it's really about learning your craft. And building up a portfolio, and being really persistent and trying to get into a studio with an entry-level job, and learning the business from the ground up. I know a lot of times there's people that go to art school and they're like, I'm going to be a director. Well, you know what? It's like, you're going to be a great director if you understand the business and you understand the process from the ground up.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah. We have a really interesting question here from Tiny Dancer, 1997. Would Oswald have undergone a change in design over the years, and would it have been similar to that of Mickey Mouse? Really interesting.
That is a great question, and that's a great handle, Tiny Dancer.
Tiny Dancer.
I like that. Reminds me of that Elton John song.
It does.
It really does, which is a fantastic song. Yeah, okay, I won't sing. Right? But yeah, no, it's a great question, because if you look at Mickey from Steamboat Willie, now, if you know your Disney history, Walt made 3 Mickey cartoons initially while he was finishing the Oswald contract. So he knew he wasn't going to get another contract, but he still had to finish out the existing contract. So in the he and his brother had houses on Lyric Avenue here in Los Angeles, and they were animating at night and on weekends in the garage, Plain Crazy, Steamboat Willie, and Galloping Gauchos. Okay, so you had those first 3 black and white cartoons. Now, if you look at those, you'll notice that Mickey has a rubber hose arms and legs, and he's a real very simple design. But then you start to look at some of the later cartoons, and he's getting more refined. And you're starting to see a more dimensional Mickey, and you're starting to see a Mickey with articulating elbows and knees, okay? And then that's happening through the 1930s. His design is evolving until you get to The Sorcerer's Apprentice, which started out as a silly symphony short to kind of reinvigorate Mickey's popularity, and then turned into Fantasia because they had spent so much money on that short. They knew they weren't going to recoup it, and so it was sort of like, oh, well then let's do a bunch of other segments and we'll create this Fantasia-like movie. So you look at that Sorcerer's Apprentice Mickey, and that's a redesign done by Fred Moore, who was really one of the great early animators at the studio, and really had trained some of the 9 Old Men. Some of the 9 Old Men worked for him. And so Fred Moore redesigned Mickey, and that to me is like the sweet spot of Mickey design. It's that Sorcerer's Apprentice Mickey Mouse. It's absolutely beautiful, but just look at where it started with Steamboat Willie or Plane Crazy Mickey and the rubber hose looking character, and that transition that happened really over like a 10-year period. His design got refined, and and Mickey's design changed a little bit in the 1950s. He got a little bit more graphic looking.
Sure.
If you look at the short, Pluto's Christmas Tree is a good example of that sort of mid-century, more graphic design. UPA was an animation studio that was doing a lot of very graphic cartoons in the 1950s.
Wow.
And so you can see the sensibility and design choices sort of evolving and changing, and Mickey adapted. And I think that was really kind of a great thing about him. So getting back to the question, I think that did happen to Oswald, but not with Walt, right?
Okay.
So Oswald's design started to evolve, and you eventually what they wound up doing over at Universal was that Oswald started to gravitate more towards a more anatomically correct bunny. And eventually became what I refer to, if you're familiar with the Nesquik bunny, that's what Oswald eventually started looking like. It was like the Nesquik bunny. And so by 1938, Oswald, his popularity had really tanked, and they stopped making the Oswald shorts. And the last time Oswald appeared in animation was in a 1951 Woody Woodpecker cartoon from Walter Lantz as like a secondary character. But he looked more like a rabbit as opposed to, his original design, and evolving his original design the way Mickey evolved.
Okay.
So.
Did he get a voice?
He did when the sound cartoons came in. Yes, he did. But again, it was just one of those. I mean, I personally was disheartened by some of the choices that those guys made on how to evolve Oswald, and I think he would have. Because his design changed so radically from what he was under Walt. It was kind of like a night and day, whereas with Mickey, there's this evolution, and each stage of that evolution of Mickey's design, when you look at him, oh, that's Mickey Mouse, that's Mickey Mouse. It's not like, oh, that's Oswald, hey, that's a bunny rabbit.
Weird.
You know what I mean?
That's really odd.
Yeah, so, people make choices. And, I mean, in the creative world, people make artistic choices, and there's always going to be somebody who disagrees with that. It's just the nature of how we all look at art. I may look at a painting and say, this is a great painting, and you may look at it and go, I don't really like that painting. I like this other painting over here, and I'm like, on the other painting. So that's the beauty.
That's fine, too.
The beauty of art is in the eye of the beholder, as they always say, and that's true in all of this.
It's true. I think if Oswald, in his current form as we know him right now, came back, I really do think people would gravitate towards him. I do. I think it works today.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
I do.
I mean, I think he's a fun character, and I hope they do more with him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So we know you're going to be at D23. We've got the Black and White Day coming up. Anything else special that you're doing with the release of the book?
Yes. So there's going to be some other events down at the Disneyland resorts.
Okay.
Those will be announced at a later date.
Cool.
And I'm actually going to be doing an event up in Seattle.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Awesome.
In early October.
Okay.
So people, can keep an eye out for that. And also, if they go to my website, davidbossert.com, very easy, davidbossert.com, under contacts, you can sign up for my mailing list. Now, I know what you're saying, another mailing list. I promise you, I'm not going to send stuff out every day or every week. I may send something out quarterly, or around a book release, I may send a few things out, but it's really just to let people know, hey, I'm going to be in Seattle at this place and doing a book signing, or I'm going to be in Los Angeles at such and such a bookstore doing a book signing, and I just want people to be able to know about that. Now, one thing that I realized after this is my first book, Remembering Roy E. Disney, okay? And one of the things I realized, I got notes from people on social media saying, how can I get my book signed by you? I'm not going to be in I don't live in Los Angeles. I'm not going to be at a book signing. How could you sign my book, you know?
Yeah.
And so I realized that there's people all over the world that, are buying books and they'd love to get it signed. So what I did was I came up with something that's been around for hundreds of years. It's called a book plate. This is a book plate. It's a piece of paper.
Love it.
And I themed this to the Oswald book. And if people go to my website, there's a tab called Free Stuff.
Free stuff.
Free stuff.
We like those tabs.
Yeah, what else could you call it, right? It's free stuff. And go under book plates. And there is a address. You send me a stamped self-addressed envelope, and I will sign one of these and put it in your envelope and mail it back to you, so you have a signed book.
I mean, it really is like the same thing, like having your
well,
books.
It's not only the same thing, but
that.
this is kind of cool, and it's sort of I think this will be a collectable thing.
Totally. So if you get the book, you can get it signed, even if you don't meet Dave. That's amazing.
Yeah. And by the way, you have to tell me whether you want it just signed, or you want me to say, to Joe, or to Lisa, or to Mary.
You will customize it too.
And I will do that for you, and I will pop it in.
That's
and you're going to have to give me a few weeks when you send it, because it's like I'm going to be all over the place once this book goes out.
Yeah.
And but I thought this was really kind of a nice thing for people that live in far off places that I might not go to.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Cool.
So
it's great.
So that's we did that, and then of course we've got these bookmarks, which are really cool because each one of the frames on the back of the bookmark represents a different cartoon. You've got Africa Before Dark. You've got Great Guns. You've got Sleigh Bells. You've got Old Swimming Hole, Trolley Trouble, Bright Lights, and Empty Socks.
So cool.
Which, some of those are rare cartoons that we only recently found, like Africa Before Dark and Sleigh Bells. Those Old Swimming Hole, those are all like recently repatriated cartoons. So we've got these beautiful bookmarks, and we're going to give these away at Black and White Day to anybody who shows up. All they have to do is come up and say, Oswald is lucky, and we're going to give them one.
That's the password.
That's the password. Oswald is lucky.
Oswald is lucky. I'm super excited for Black and White Day. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I know that a bunch of you guys have already told me that you're coming, so stay tuned for when and where you'll be able to meet us and get these bookmarks.
And you know something, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to bring some swag with me.
Swag.
And I think we're going to give away stuff to people.
Cool.
Not to everybody. I mean, I'm only going to have a limited amount of stuff. But, we'll come up with something like somebody who has the best or the coolest Oswald outfit on, or the best black and white outfit, or the coolest black and white sneakers, or I don't know.
Love it.
We'll come up with something, but I'll have a bunch of swag with me, and we'll give away some cool things.
Cool.
How's that?
That's great. I like that. All right, so giveaway time.
Yay.
Yeah.
I like that.
We love this. Dave is going to be giving away 2 copies of
Remembering Roy E. Disney. Now, the reason why we're doing this and not the Oswald book is, the Oswald book is at the printer, okay? And it's not set for release until the end of August, but they're actually flying in copies of the book for a pre-release at the D23 Expo. Woo! So hopefully you'll be at the Expo, and hopefully you'll be able to snag a copy, because they're only bringing in a limited quantity of those books, and once they're gone at the Expo, you're going to have to wait until the end of August. So I don't even have copies of the Oswald book yet, okay? But I have copies of Remembering Roy E. Disney, and I had the pleasure of working with Roy E., and he was a great man and really did a lot for the Walt Disney Company, and I want people to have a couple copies of this. And so how are we going to do this? So
I will post a photo of us on my Instagram, and yeah, just like that. So I'll post the photo, and what you guys need to do is comment in that Instagram photo. Just comment below. That could be your entry, and follow Dave as well on his Instagram.
Yeah, please do. Follow me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, and please go to my website, davidbossert.com. There's free stuff. You'll find out about all the books I have, and I also have some cool articles, by the way, on the website under articles. How's that? There's a tab called Articles, and there's a bunch of articles about various Disney cartoons that I've had, those articles published in D23 magazine, and they were concert notes and program notes and things like that. And there's a couple of articles on Oswald and on the Oswald music. Cool. Which is another aspect of this that we didn't really have a chance to talk about, but there's so many facets to this. There really is.
We might just have to do a part 2 one day.
Maybe. I don't know. We could. I'd be happy to.
I mean, I could listen to you talk about this stuff forever. Like, seriously, it's so fascinating to me. So
it is a lot of fun, and it brings a lot of joy to people, and that's what's so amazing about it. It's just it's fabulous.
Well, this has been so. I just thank you so much for doing this. This was really a really special treat for me, and I know a special treat for you guys at home. And if you guys have any more questions for Dave, leave them in the comments below. I would love to do this again, if that's cool with you at some point down the road.
I think so. I think we should do it again. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Maybe we'll go to Walt's Barn next time.
Ah, man, that place is amazing.
Yeah, we'll find some cool place. But I was kind of glad that we came to Cal Arts.
This is great. No, this was really awesome.
And Cal Arts, really, for those kids out there, those parents that have children that want to be aspiring artists, these are the schools to look at. These are prestigious places. Hallowed halls.
They are. They really are. You could feel it. You really can. All right, cool. Well, leave the comments below if you have any more questions. Thank you so much for being here.
It was my pleasure, Max. Max is a great guy. This has been a lot of fun.
I cannot wait to read the book and see everything that's in it. It's going to be amazing.
And by the way, I hope everybody that's watching this will do a pre-order on the book. Because they're discounting it. You can find it at Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Book a Million. Is it? Books a Million. Books a Million. Books a Million. Bam.
Yeah.
BAM.
Yeah.
Bam. So you can find it at any of those sites, and you can pre-order the book.
That's great.
And that's to me, it just gets it out there, and it's going to help pump up his popularity.
Yeah, I'll put the links below, obviously, for everything that we talked about. Especially the link of the book, and I
appreciate it.
We did it. Yeah, we did it.
We did it. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Again, leave the comments below, like, subscribe, check out my Patreon page, and have a magical day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Mr. Cheesy Pop.